Hey everyone, I found this post on Reddit and I thought I would make a really quick video on how to model this from like a very basic rudimentary level. And I think it's just a really great exercise in understanding basic modeling fundamentals, both from an architectural design standpoint, but more importantly from like a constructability standpoint. So I'm just going to transition over and I just want to show you how you can quickly model this. And I want to make some commentary about the modeling methods and the construction methods behind these types of designs, okay? So just a quick background on the project. This is a project designed by Bjarke Ingles Group Big, and it's called the Escher Tower. And it's basically composed of three square towers with the same footprint. It's just that the footprint on the bottom, the footprint on the top are just either shifted or rotated at 90 degrees from one another. And this is a great example of breaking down complex geometry into very basic rudimentary geometry, breaking it down to points and lines and curves and things like that. And so if we look at the geometry, right, this is, obviously this is the top footprint, and then we have the bottom footprint, and it's divided into three square towers where the central square tower just stacks vertically all the way up. It's just like a straight shot tower that goes all the way, right? And then if you look at the actual geometry here, right, this starts to bend out like this, right? And then this goes and goes bending like that. I think there's like a tangency, right? Like a straight, like from here to here is a straight tangent, be from here to here is a straight tangent. And there's a lot of ways of modeling this, but I want to show you just a very basic way of modeling this as kind of, I would say, like old school, or maybe just a little bit extra steps, but you'll understand why I like to model it this way. So I'm going to transition over to Rhino right now. So I'm going to use just random dimensions for the geometry, just out of eye. So I think I'm going to do a rectangle, and I'll do the center option, and I'll do 50 foot by 50 foot, and then I'll copy it two more times. Okay? So I'll just copy it here, copy this, and here. I'll do the area centroid command, and that gives you the center point of any geometry like that. So I want that. And then I'll go up maybe, it looks like a very tall conceptual tower. It looks very tall. When I count the number of floors, there are like so many floors. I'll go up like 600 feet, which probably isn't correct, but you have 600 feet right here, right? And then I'm going to rotate it maybe 90 like this. Okay, so you see this center tower is always going to stack up on itself, right? So what we want to do now is we want to line up one tower to one tower. And the beauty of this, right, is that although it's complex geometry, it's a modular geometry. You just have to model it once, and that's it. And the other end is exact same geometry, just mirrored on the opposite direction, which I'll show you. So after we do this, what I'm going to do is just I'm going to draw two straight lines that want to align the edge with, right? Because like I want to align this edge with this edge, right? And so all I have to do is just draw two lines. So I'll just draw a line, vertical option, right? And I'll go up, right? Just go up to here like that, right? So that's going to be there. And I just want to work with this, right? And then I'll do a point, and I'll add a point in the middle right here. And then I'm just going to split this. I'm going to split this line with this point, okay? So you have this half and this half, okay? And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to copy it over here, okay? And I'm going to draw another line right here, right? So like the arbitrary way that you can do it is like this, right? Like I can take control point curve and go from here, right? And here, and here, and there, right? And get this curvature. And like I said, in terms of modularity, like I can copy this and it's going to line up with every corner of the box. Like that copy's there, this copy's here. You see how they all line up? So that's what I mean about like this idea that it's it's complex, but at the same time it's modular. It's literally using the exact same geometry of just one edge and it's repeated, right? So that's one method. The other method is that, I think in the drawing, like it had like I think this tangency here, right? Like where this is straight and this is straight, right? So like you can do that as well, right? Like we can stop here, right? And we can draw a line maybe vertical and we'll go maybe from here to the midpoint here. Let me try to find the mid on here. I gotta orbit this. Like that, right? And the same thing here. We'll just draw a line, B for vertical, and go to mid, right? And do the exact same interpolate points from here, 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 and there, right? And you get this type of geometry, right? So this is more straight. See, there's a lot of ways of doing this. I can also do the blend edge command, the blend surface command. I can do a lot of different types of commands, but I like doing this way the most. But there's another way that I want to show that's also important. So this is one method. The other method is this, where I draw a line and I want to go to this endpoint here. And I'm just going to take this off to the side like this, right? And then we could do like fillet radius. I'm going to give this like a really big radius, like, I don't know, 600, like that. You see, and you get like this radius here and here. I can do point down the mid. I should turn off the near snap because it's very troublesome, right? And like I can make this arc even bigger so that I start hitting the mids, closer to the mids. Like this. Right, I'll just trim it. You get something like this, right? The reason why I like this is because now you have like very exact geometry of like arc lengths, right? It's very exact now. And so let's say you don't do it this way. Let's say you do it with like a grasshopper, for example. Even with grasshopper, you want to make sure that you have some type of parameter that you can always go back and index, because from the architectural perspective, you're probably going to maybe change the space a little bit, right? You're going to change the sizing of things. So you need to always find a certain parameter that you can always go back to and have good control over your geometry, right? And so like for here, this is like a great way if you did it the old school method like this, like these curves are like your index of control, because you can always go back like, oh, okay, no, I want to make the curvature a little less or a little more. You know what to base it off of, right? And so that's what's so important. The reason why I say this is because like when you get it built in real life, you're gonna put this, like, let's say it's steel construction. It's going to go to like the steel shop drawings. They're going to come back with you with like real numbers, like they need lengths of certain steel members, right? So like you need to break things down to like actual real numbers when you work with the scale of the structure, the spacing of the structure, how much it's angling, you know, even for like architectural details, like, okay, I have a window that needs to follow this shape and things like that, right? Or the floor plates that need to follow this shape. And so those all boil down to like actual real numbers. And so establishing geometric parameters like this, whether it's analog, I guess, or like old school method, or grasshopper method, is very helpful in having full control of your design, both from a design perspective and an engineering perspective and a constructability perspective, okay? And so I know I'm talking way more than I should be modeling, right? In other ways, you can do blend curve, and I can maybe blend this curve with this curve, like that, you see? And I can control these points as well, right? But the reason why I actually don't like curve blend is because like blend curve and blend surface, in my opinion, this is just my humble opinion, is that those commands are more so for product design. And when it comes to like major architectural elements, you need more of like a strong indexing geometric network or parameter to always go back to. Because if I do curve blend or blend surface, I'm not saying it's arbitrary, but it's hard to index if you need to go back and fix it, right? Whereas I can always go back to these ruling geometries and always go back and re-index what I referenced to create my curvatures, or like this one too. Like I know the radii, for example, or for curve and interpolate point, I know exactly where I click to make this exact same geometry, right? And just let me just do like curve blend again, just so you understand what I mean by like it's meant more for product design and stuff like that. Let me just click on some random curves here. Okay, so if you see here G3 and G4, when it comes to product design, that's, or even industrial design, that's for the amount of tangency you want your curves to have. You have things called like A-class surfaces. A-class surfaces are like top-notch, really great continuous surfaces that you find like nice curved product design. So this is a really great example, to be honest. Let me show you right here. So see, this is a G0 position of curvature, right? G1, this is just one tangent point, right? From here to here. G2 has two tangency points. G3 has like, I think 4 or 3 tangent, like just lots of tangency points. So you see how you go from like no transition to like very smooth transition, right? So that's what those G's mean in Rhino when you see like G position, G0, G3, G4. It's how much of a tangency of a curvature you want. And this is almost a necessity in like industrial design and product design, right? Like furniture, cars, everyday products, right? But when it comes to like major buildings and actual structures, you want something that's more indexing, right? Because you're always going to have to go back and actually like give like real numbers for these things, you know? Whereas for this, you do have real numbers, but the scale isn't as massive as a building or a skyscraper, like structure for a skyscraper, right? This is also a really great diagram of showing the definitions of A-class surfaces and like continuities of the G curvatures. Because you see this a lot in Rhino. Because don't forget, Rhino originally was like a jewelry software program. So yeah, that's why I like doing curve interpolate or the old school method of how I showed you, which is like filleting, you know? So I'm going to go with this method right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just join, right? And I'm going to simplify it, and then I'm just going to copy it. And again, like I said, this is nice because this is just one modular curve. I'll copy this here and copy that there. I'll just copy those two, and I'll do sweep two, right? And I'll say this is my first rail, it's my second rail, that's my sweep shape, that's my sweep shape right here, right? And I'm going to make sure that these are in the same direction, right? I'll do like that, I'll do okay. And then I'm going to do cap. I just want to cap this. You see? And then I'm going to do mirror. I'm just going to mirror it diagonally because this is a mirror of this. It's the exact same square, but it's just mirrored, right? So I'm going to mirror it and go this way like that. And then I'm going to just move it to this corner here. You see? So now that's like this. And then I can take this center one, and it's just this one. This is the core. It just goes straight down, right there, like that. You see? And then I can do Boolean union. Boolean union this, like that. There you go. So now this is one. And let me go to rendered view. So I'm going to just make it so you understand what's going on here. So if I go to, let me just do one of my, and this isn't like fully accurate, right? Like this isn't like completely accurate, but I just want you to understand what's going on, right? That, it's a pretty big project, like Bjarke Ingles project in terms of aesthetics. But again, like I said, this is nice, right? Like you have a central core. This is just straight. This is completely straight, right? And then you have these two are modular anyway. So like even if you did a construction document, it's quite efficient in terms of making the construction documents, even though it looks like it's very dynamic. It is like each floor plate is going to be a little bit shorter than the next, right? But it's repeated on the same side, on the other side, which is nice. And I'm sure you're aware I do a lot of graphic style videos, but like I think this looks great like this. Let me see, like that. This is like a very Bjarke Ingles graphic style. Again, I make videos. I make a lot of videos about this, like how to do graphic styles like this, like how to edit your styles, you know. So print display state. Um, so yeah, I hope you found this helpful. I mean, I just wanted this to be like a quick video because I think this is a great understanding of like how to model things from like a very basic rudimentary level. You know, like these things look complex, but all we did was just like three commands. You know, 3 or 4 commands, and that's the beauty of these types of designs. You know, but yeah. And then we can contour this to get the floor plates if we wanted to, right? Contour. Let me go to wireframe. And I'll go from this midpoint down to that midpoint because that's straight. In distance, I'll do 12 feet. There you go. Let me show you the floor plates real fast. You see, I don't need this right here. This bottom one, like that. So you have something like this, right? So let me do simplify curve. It's probably redundant points, you know? Let me do cell dupe just in case. Okay. Let me try planar surface, see if it's gonna make these into surfaces. There you go. Nice. You see, these are your floor plates right there. Group these, copy, and let me move it. I think this is the second one right there. And let me do ghosted real fast. So there's your floor plates right there, and there, you know? So yeah, I hope you found this helpful. You know, I think this is just a really great exercise of principles of modeling in like from like an architectural perspective, right? From like modeling complex geometries and having like reasoning when it comes to like constructability. You know, I mean, from a studio perspective, Conceptual level, you don't have to worry that much in detail about it. It's more for formal explorations, like math and explorations. But at professional level, you have to already think about these things from the start. The reason why I'm creating this geometry is because, or this method of like two vertical lines and this horizontal line, because it gives me a framework of how to control my geometry, right? Whether depending on how I want to transition things, right? Or how I want to do certain radii of things or certain tangencies of things. I think it's very important to understand that when you're doing this, not just from a design perspective, but like from a construction documents perspective, it doesn't matter if you do it an old school way, like what I'm showing you, or if you do it in like a parametric design software method. You need to have parameters that you have very good control over and clear communication, not just within a design perspective, but like communication with structural engineer, for example, right? And I think these types of projects, you're going to work with like a structural engineer that's like focused on like BIM management. And on the architecture side, you're going to have like a BIM manager as well, right? So these are going to translate to hard numbers. So I think one important principle to understand is that if you're going to create a type of architecture that has complex massing or dynamic massing, you have options where it's like highly customizable, where like every piece is customized, right? Every panel is customized, every window is customized. And then there are other forms of like complex geometrical forms that are complex by eye but are modular by number. And so this is a really great example where this looks complex by eye, but it's actually quite symmetrical and quite modular by number, which actually makes the constructability more efficient in a certain way, right? There's still a level of customization, but it's highly repetitive. Whereas there are other types of architecture where the massing is so complex that everything is customized, right? So this is a really great example of realizing that sometimes you can get away with complex forms, but when it comes down to constructability and when it comes to numbers, it's actually quite repetitive and very straightforward and very efficient. And again, like this isn't the only way of doing this. You can use blend surface, you can use grasshopper if you wanted to. In reality, I think you would for sure have a BIM manager on this type. These like if you were going to make this in real life, you would definitely have like a BIM manager, both on the architectural side and on the structural engineering side. You would need to, like, it would be silly not to with the technology we have today and the the types of software that you can do to create these types of things. But from like a quick conceptual design perspective, like schematic design, this is enough. But like you want to even talk to a structural engineer at this level, right? If you're going to do a complex massing like this, right? So you understand what the parameters are. So again, I hope you found this helpful, and please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. All right, thank you.